In this video, we will cover the Zoom control bar and what buttons you see when you are hosting a Zoom meeting. If you look across the bottom of your screen, you will see a series of buttons. It starts with the mute button and continues with stop video. And then across the middle, you see security. And if I click there, these are the features that Zoom added to make your meeting more secure. And once your meeting starts, you can turn these features on and off. For instance, there is a feature called the waiting room. And when you click on the waiting room, it makes it so that participants who are joining with a link that either you sent them directly or that has been posted on a website or forwarded to them, once they enter your meeting room and the waiting room is enabled, they must be admitted by you. So it adds this extra level of security, which is very nice. You can see them enter and see what their name is. And if they're not on your registration list, you can even message with them before admitting them to your meeting room. The other features in the security menu involve allowing participants to do things such as share their own screen or even use the chat box and rename themselves. Many people who are use Zoom meeting to teach classes need the participants to make sure that their name appears as it would legally, whether you're teaching in a public school district where you need to take attendance, or if you're teaching in a corporation or an association in the professional world in education, then you might require a participant to make sure their name appears legally so that it can count for credit if that's what they're attending your class for. The next button over is the participants list. And what you see here is used to display all of the people who are in your class. And you will see whose audio is working, so whether they are muted or unmuted. And you will also see whether their video is on, whether it's stopped or started. Of course, if their video is not on, you might be able to visibly see that in the meeting as well. But the participants list is a great shortcut to go down the list and see who's present. Of course, in my sample meeting here, the participants list is just me, but in future videos, you will see that with a full class, how different it can be and how many features you have. The participants list can also be turned off if you don't need it displayed while you're teaching. And I'm on a Mac during this time, so the button to close the participants list is this little red dot. If you're on a Windows computer, you will see a button that has an X on it. So the next button over is the chat, and the chat is an excellent feature. It's used to communicate non-verbally in the meeting. So when you have participants who are muted, and you need to gather from them information or answers to questions that you're asking, you can have them place their answer in the chat. The chat also at the very bottom down there, you see there's a button that says file, so you can transfer file in the chat room. You can also save the chat. You can click the button with the 3 dots and save the chat. Now, as the host today, I have the ability to change the participants' rights. So I can set it so that they can chat only with everyone publicly, as opposed to maybe only chatting with me. And then finally, the last option in the chat box is to merge to meeting window. And what that does is it puts it over here on the right so that it doesn't float on your screen. And you might want it docked is another way to refer to that. Sometimes when you come into a meeting and it's docked like that, you'll see this little down pointing arrow in the top left corner, and then just choose pop out. And then it will float again like this. We'll go ahead and close the chat box. Now, right across the bottom of the Zoom control bar is this green button, and it's for sharing your screen. As the host, this is very common. You might want to share with your audience a PowerPoint presentation or a browser screen. And so when you click on share screen, you get a list of choices of what might be available. And we'll cover that in future video recordings. So stay tuned for that in more detail. The next few buttons over have to do with host capability and settings. So if the host, as I am right now in this meeting, if I have a poll that I'm going to offer to my audience, I can click that button and actually launch a poll and have them answer questions, multiple choice questions. It's a very nice feature that's built into Zoom. The next button over is for recording control. I'm using the recording feature right now. So recording is on, and therefore I can pause or even stop the recording at any time. The next button over is called Breakout Rooms, which is an excellent feature in Zoom. It is a setting in your Zoom account, so you need to make sure that that setting is on in order to see the breakout room feature. And that too will be covered in future video recordings on this Master Tech Class channel. The reactions button is quite fun. You can ask your participants to react as they would like to the content or to other participants based on an emotion using an emoji. For those of you out there who might have a version of Zoom that hasn't been updated in a while, you might have just the first two options. So make sure that you've updated your Zoom desktop application and you will have all 6 emoji icons. There is a video on how to update your Zoom desktop application on this YouTube channel. So look for that, and it just takes a few minutes to update, and then you're all set to go. And then finally, on the far right is the end button. So when you are done with your meeting, you have the control as the host to end the meeting for all. When you click end, you get the option to do that, end the meeting for all, or as the host, you could leave the meeting and assign someone else in charge. There is the ability to assign a co-host to your meeting or even make someone else the host. And then you can actually leave the meeting and they can take over for you. And that too will be covered in future videos. So stay tuned. And that completes the overview of the Zoom control bar when you are a host in a Zoom meeting. Hey, while you're here, why don't you subscribe to my YouTube channel? Just click that bell icon and choose all notifications, and you will be notified when all of these future recordings come out. And you'll be kept up to date on all of these features involving using Zoom and other technology tips.